What do you say we get started? Hello? Frank, what do you say? Get started? Everybody ready? Okay. All right. And you know how to operate this crazy thing over here. Okay, cool. Okay, it is 6:02, and we will get this Board of Adjustment meeting for November 29th started. The first thing we'll do is do a real quick roll call. Start from the left, please. Right.
Earl Hartzog.
Regina Agee.
Yvonne Griffin.
And Richard Jevitt. Yvonne Griffith is an alternate, and she'll be sitting on the board and be able to make the decisions along with the board as well. Thank you very much, everyone. All right. First thing on the agenda is the hearing of residents. If there is anybody that,
No, sir.
okay. So that's gone. Okay, next thing, we take a look at the minutes for November 7th. Are there any notations, adjustments, or anything on that?
Mr. Chairman, I read these minutes. I make a motion that we approve them.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Herzog. Do I hear a second from anyone?
I'll second it.
Have a second? All right, any questions on it? No? Then, like a vote on it, starting from left to right?
I trust my fellow board members. I wasn't here, but I trust your opinion, so yes, aye.
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 Aye, so we have 5 ayes, motion passes. Thank you. All right. As of right now, we will have a public hearing on the item listed on the agenda for today, and would ask staff to kind of present the information on there. One other thing that we will let you all know is that if once staff has finished, it will be opened up for a public hearing on that particular item, and specific to that item, you will be able to present that, after which time, if there are any questions in regards to this, will be asked. Okay? All right. Sam, please.
Okay. PLVAR 2022-0141, a request for a variance to UDC Article 5, Section 2157, Dimensional and Developmental Standards. Samuel Haas, planner. So we have an aerial map here. You'll have one in your packet as well. This is in the Riata subdivision. It is for 2937 Mistywood Lane. And there's a public hearing notice requirement. So in this exhibit here, this is the 200-foot notification boundary in which all these properties here that are listed were notified of the variance request. The public hearing notice was published in the San Antonio Express on November 9th, and there were 36 notices mailed to the surrounding property owners on November 8th, 2022. Staff has received 1 response neutral and 1 response opposed. Previously, this variance was noticed with an error, and in that previous round, we also received some responses as well. 1 was in favor, 2 were opposed. So the variance request, as you can see here, is a request to build a 10 by 16 4-season room within the 20-foot rear setback line. As you can see, the encroachment there is approximately about 8 feet, and that is the rear lot line there. So here are the dimensional requirements, and this should be in your packet as well. The single-family R7 zoning has a minimum rear setback of 20 feet. And so when evaluating variance requests, the staff kind of ask ourselves 4 questions here. This variance increases the building footprint. It'll encroach about 8 feet into the rear setback, which we think will violate the intent of the UDC. There are no special conditions of restricted area, topography, or physical features that are peculiar to this particular parcel. There is no hardship as a result of factors outside the control of the applicant. Therefore, it is the result of his own actions. And the R7 single-family zoning district was deliberately considered and designed to have a 20-foot rear setback. Every zoning district in the city has setback requirements that the city enforces. As a result of these questions here, the staff has determined that we recommend a denial of PLVAR 2022-0141, a building expansion into the required 20-foot rear setback. The applicant is here if he would like to give a presentation. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Silmer Chile. I guess this is the last time I've been here like this. It's going a board member in the military. Can you hear me now? All right. So the reason for what we're trying to do in the house is just an extension, a small 4-season room. It's like it says 10 by 16. We already have our contractors trying to get this project done, but they told us that we have to do this legal part of the project, so we have the go to do it. It's nothing related to do any type of business or anything like that. It's just to enjoy our garden. I'm a military veteran. I have back problems, so I cannot put my plants all the time, every year, inside the garage. That's been my dilemma for the last 5 years, so this might help me out to put the stuff inside in that permanent room and enjoy our garden the most that we want. And that's basically it. It's nothing, like I said, it's nothing business, nothing out of the ordinary. It's just a small greenhouse that we're trying to put there.
Okay.
Are there any questions, board members?
Well, you have to remember that this is going to be opened up for a public hearing. We'll have to see if there's anybody else that wants to address. All right, at this time, we will open this session up for a public hearing. If there's anybody that would like to speak on this particular subject, you are welcome to step forward, name, address, and give your comments. Do we have anybody? All right, going once, twice. All right, public hearing's closed. At this time, we'll open up for questions from the board. Any questions related to this?
Just have one right now. Oh, I'm sorry, let me turn this on. Just have one right now. You say, this is a 7, R7, right? That's the garden homes, right?
No, it's a single family.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I have a good question for the city. I'm going to assume that somebody's been out there to check this property out, right?
We normally just check through like satellite images and things that we have like on our interactive map.
Okay. So to be clear, nobody from the city has gone out to actually take a look.
That's correct.
Is that standard? Kind of outside what's going on here, but is that pretty standard? Somebody doesn't go out to take a look personally.
Well, when we get a variance request, we don't go and check out their property first, no. Am I getting the question correct here?
It is, and I guess what I'm wondering is, would it be a good idea to take a look and actually verify what is going to be presented, and if the city's going to make a recommendation either to approve or to not approve, to actually eyeballed it and kind of see like, okay, this is what's going on here, this is what's around here, this is what's needs to be done.
So I will say that if it's a commercial property that's asking for a variance, we do drive-bys, we do, evaluate that way. We don't typically go into a resident's backyard, right? So we rely on Google aerial imagery and things of that nature to be able to verify, his house is there per the survey as well, and it would extend into that 20-foot rear setback per the zoning. So on this case, not really anything to go out and look at because the Four Seasons room has not been constructed,
Okay. So the reliance is basically just on the survey from the contractor?
which is stamped and sealed by a surveyor.
Okay. And that brings me just to my next question, that the applicant had placed, this isn't a question for him, so I don't think I need to ask this, but he had stated that that plenty of the neighbors had already installed pools or porch extensions in their back garden. So I'm wondering, is the city aware of any other variances that have been granted for something similar like that? Or are there structures and/or pools that are not in compliance with the code? Or is that not true? I guess one of those three.
So I will say there's different requirements if it's an accessory structure that's not attached, or if it's a pool. There's different setback requirements for those items that are not an expansion of the home. So because the decision is to expand the home, essentially, even though it's going to be a Four Seasons greenhouse room, it's still a home expansion. That's where the rear setback comes into play. So we have done some research. We're not aware of other variances in that area, but we are reviewing to see if there are, buildings, expansions that were done into the setback. This is specifically just for this property, just for this specific request. But just keep that in mind. If you're looking at the aerial imagery, there's probably quite a few sheds or accessory structures that are within that 20-foot rear setback, which is permitted.
Okay. And I just asked that question just so I can just be clear. I mean, and our decisions don't set precedents or anything like that. I understand. Just because one has one and one doesn't, but I just want to make sure that's the case. And yeah, I do see sheds and things like that. It's difficult to tell whether or not there are extensions to homes. Okay, but just to be clear, the city's not aware that there, at least in this zoning restricted area, that there are any of those extensions that exist.
Not from my understanding.
Any other questions? Just real quickly, we did have specified that there was no specific hardship in this particular case that would warrant any kind of changes of this type. Is that correct?
Not based on staff's review of those 4 specific questions that are identified in the Unified Development Code to help us determine if a legal hardship is present. Staff, based off of the information that we have, could not find that there's a legal hardship that would warrant a recommendation of approval, which is why staff recommended done.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Mr.
Yes. Do they have an HOA up there or anything that governs this?
So I believe that Rihanna has an HOA, but they would still need to comply with the City of Schertz Unified Development Code regulations regardless.
Has he applied with the HOA?
Could we ask Mr. Silmer to come up? Because I'm going to have a question for you as well.
Have you got anything from the HOA yet?
I applied before for the HOA to build a pool, but I didn't do the pool because I was doing for different funds. I approached the HOA about this project, and they told me I had to get with the city first before they approve anything else.
Do you know specifically what the restrictive covenants say regarding this addition as it applies to the homeowners association?
No, it's not, because I had approval for a pool, even I had for a small, what do you call this, pergola. So it was different construction we're trying to get approved, but it's just we didn't do it because of the time.
I understand, and as the city had already stated that even the development code has different rules regarding setbacks for different things like pools or a shed or that kind of thing.
Understood.
So what I'm asking specifically is with the restrictive covenants with the homeowners association, have you submitted the plans to them?
For this specific rule, yes, I did, but I had to get first approval for the city first so they can approve it. And then I had to send all those documents to my contract so they can do the work.
Okay. It's fair to say then the HOA wants the city then first to state their position, and then they will then make their recommendation whether or not to vary the restrictive.
Correct, yes.
And I wanted to ask you, how long have you owned and lived in the house?
We came here in 2014. We came here from Washington, D.C. to retire, yeah, from the military.
In 2014?
Yes, sir.
Okay, about 8 years or so?
About 8 years, yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes.
I drove up there today. I don't know if anybody else has. But in that neighborhood, I think almost every one of the houses up there is a two-story except yours. Right?
Can you repeat it? Like, I didn't hear you very well. What was that again?
Or not?
I didn't hear you.
No, I just noticed that you had a one-story house. I mean, I'm not,
Oh, yes, and most of the houses are just one story. Some,
but you're about the only one up there, at least on each side. I said, oh, wait a minute.
oh, yes.
I'm just passing that on to the,
Oh, no, please, if you want to go to the garden, we have a lot of roses too. That's why I'm a member of the Rose Society, and that's the other reason we want to have that small
Oh, yeah,
greenhouse.
I didn't mean to offend you.
No, sir, please, no, don't take, I guess I couldn't hear. I have bad hearing, that's probably why.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
On this back part, it says the concrete, the builder has to add a concrete, is that supposed to be slab?
That's correct. They have to put a concrete, so the.
A slab?
Because
Okay.
the insurance had to be able to support that, the construction properly.
And so they haven't started anything on that yet?
No, I cannot do anything until I get the go first.
I have one other question for the city. We're dealing specifically with the setback requirements and the variance to there too. However, and it's not before the board, but is there or has there been any determination of whether or not this decreases the, or increases rather, the impervious, what to call that, but the impervious area on the lot of land?
So it will definitely increase the amount of impervious coverage, regardless of, what the decision is here tonight for extending into that setback. He still would not be able to exceed the impervious coverage of 50% of the lot, so that would be reviewed with the building permit. But that first step was, can the, extension even go into that setback?
Okay.
And then just as a reminder, our Unified Development Code is very clear that you cannot request a variance for impervious coverage. So regardless of this, of the, what's the word I'm looking for? The extension into the setback, the 50% impervious coverage would remain in place.
Those all look like rather small lots. They're kind of, Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Hey,
So how much is going to be between the structure and the property line? There's going to be how much left?
Thinking about 12 feet approximately.
Before he hits the property line?
The proposal extends into that 20-foot rear setback 8 feet.
And that's a small setback for a lot to begin with.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion. Make a motion that we approve the request.
Okay, Mr. Herzog, to approve the request. Anybody the second? Oh, we have no second.
That's all right.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my,
All right.
I'll
Okay.
make a motion to disapprove the variance request.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Yvonne and a second from Mr. McElroy on disapproving the motion. Okay. And we'll take a vote from left to right, please.
And it's with, before I state my vote, it's not an easy decision at all. and there's nothing personal whatsoever. However, we look at these things, and, they are what they are, and the council has the ability to change things, and there's a zoning board, and a lot of different moving parts, and literally our job here is just to determine whether or not those factors are met or not met. So with that, aye to the motion to disapprove.
Okay, so we have nay on the
The motion is to
motion
disapprove,
was
correct?
to disapprove.
So I vote aye to the motion.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, the motion is disapproved, and at this point, we will close that particular issue. All right. Next up on the item, on the agenda, are there any agenda items that need to be placed on future meetings for the Board of Adjustment? We'll start with Mr. McElroy,
I don't have any, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Herzog,
Yes, sir. I would like the minutes of January 31st, 2022.
okay. So at this
To be
point, we'll-
put back on the agenda
all right.
to be action for approval.
All right, fine. So we'll take that and put that on the agenda for the next issue. Anybody else? No? Okay. If there is nothing else in regards to this, yeah,
On the review of the film and everything.
they're going to take a look at that, okay? All right. Okay, at this point, since we have covered it and everything has been taken care of, I want to thank you all for being here and helping us out to make sure that everything is done correctly. At this point, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.